And after 3 years, Scream is officially back on the big screen with Scream 7. There's a lot of controversy around this film, but let's push that aside and just talk about Scream 7 alone. How is this film? And for starters, on a positive note, the kills are some of the best kills this franchise has to offer. There are some really creative kills in here that have to do with the setting around them. The kills in this movie are a lot more gruesome and they're a lot more creative. There's at least 2 to 3 kills in here that I think are some of the best this entire franchise has to offer. Because I think this movie decided to go really creative with the environment and using certain new techniques that this franchise hasn't brought in before. So a lot of these kills become so creative by the end result and make some of the best kills in this entire franchise. This film is also bringing back the entire OG cast. Everyone, all the main stars are back in this movie, but a new face is Cindy's daughter this time around, and I do like the dynamic that they made between the mother and daughter and just the storyline that they focused on the daughter this time around for this movie. It made sense for the context of the story, and I just enjoy that direction and that character growth they decided to go through. Because I feel like that just overall worked and was the best option to take with this movie when focusing on these characters. I mentioned this with the kills too, but there are also a lot of great sequences throughout this entire movie. Just chase scenes alone. We see one in the trailer with a hallway, and there's multiple other ones. I just feel like a lot of these different sequences are extremely well crafted together, where there's a lot of suspense behind all these different scenes that you're slowly at the edge of your seat just seeing what is going to happen next, just because a lot of these scenes are really well made. To put it forward, the highs of this movie are extremely high. It delivers some of the best moments in the entire franchise, just because the highs stand out so incredibly much that this movie had a lot of fun elements to it thanks to everything I mentioned already. The highs of this movie are extremely high and what make it worth watching to begin with. With that said though, once we get to the negative part of this movie, there are a lot of drawbacks to this movie, and this movie, by the end of it, was rushed together. Now we all know behind the scenes for this movie, they had to rewrite the script, they had to fire people. There's a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes, and there's a lot of reasons why people are boycotting this movie. So, when you actually do watch the movie, it feels rushed together. It feels like you're going through those generic tropes that every single Scream movie did before Scream 5, and we're just recycling the same formula over and over again. Now, I do feel like Scream 6 and even Scream 5 was starting to change that a little bit. So, we were getting out of those old roots that those sequels used to just keep copying the first film over and over again. While I feel Scream 7 just went back to those roots and just copied the first film, while being what the first film made fun of in the first place. Scream 7 is essentially everything the first film was making fun of, and it just now became that. Because by the end, this entire movie is just forced. Everything to do with this plot was never the original plot. These cast of characters are in this movie just because they had no other option. They had to bring these characters back because they had to fire the main characters for 6 and 5. And when watching the movie, you can kind of feel that, especially since I binged the entire franchise before watching Scream 7. I rewatched the entire franchise, and there is a noticeable difference from 6 to 7, just because there's a new cast of characters, and it just feels like a sudden switch that just happened. And that's because that's exactly what happened behind the scenes, and you can feel it in the movie. The final act 2 was absolutely the worst thing of this entire movie. When it came to the killer reveals, it was, I don't know what they were doing. It was the worst killer reveal in the entire franchise, and it might just be the worst ghost faces of this entire franchise. It was awful. It was terribly put together. I don't even know what they were thinking when making this. Everything with the final act was just a complete mess. And on that note, I will say the first half of this movie is really strong. But around the halfway point of the movie is when it completely lost me. It became just everything Scream was making fun of to begin with. It just lost everything fun about this franchise. And by the time we get to the final act, you're really just scratching your head of why are those the ghost faces that were revealed. And by the end, this movie just introduced nothing new to this franchise. Everything we have seen so far is just a rinse and repeat of what's been done better in the past. It's the same old thing over and over again, and there's nothing new about it. 5 and 6 were doing something new and brought the franchise back with a bang, while Scream 7 is just showing us why they stopped at 4 for the longest time, just because they don't know what direction to go in, so they keep reusing the same story beats over and over again. When they finally had a direction to go, they decided to completely kill that and make Scream 7 instead. To put it forward, the lows of this movie is what makes this movie so low to begin with. I do think this movie has a lot of the best moments in Scream, but the lows of this movie make it not that good. So overall, Scream 7, I will say, is worth watching if you want to see some of the best moments in the entire franchise. Kills and sequences, there are a lot of creative ones, there's a lot of gruesome ones, and they're the best of the entire franchise had to offer. But when we do get to the lows, all of it is just a complete rinse and repeat of what's been done better in the past, and by this point in the franchise, Scream has become everything it was making fun of to this point in time. The highs are extremely high, but the lows are extremely low and completely kill everything this movie had to offer. Kills are an absolute blast, and I will say watch this movie just for the kills, but other than that, this is a Scream movie that was a huge disappointment. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side to you too. Like, subscribe. See you guys next time. Goodbye.